For more on the war crimes allegations against Russia and how Putin could be held accountable, let's bring in Kelebogile Zvobgo, the founder and director of the International Justice Lab, which studies human rights and international law. Kelebogile, we appreciate you being here today. You know, we saw those haunting images of civilians apparently executed by Russian troops. Authorities say more than 300 people were killed. Are you surprised to hear these allegations coming out of Ukraine right now?
I am not surprised to hear these allegations coming out of Ukraine, but I am devastated by them and really just wondering how the international community will render justice for Vladimir Putin, his generals, and his soldiers on the ground.
Now, from a legal perspective, if these allegations are true, does this amount to genocide?
I believe that there is evidence suggestive of genocide, yes. And so, like we talked about the last time I was on, genocide is a range of acts which includes killing, but is not limited to killing, that are intended to destroy in whole or in part a racial, ethnic, religious, or national group. And in this case, there is a clear attack on Ukraine as a nation. Vladimir Putin has made very clear that he abhors the Ukrainian national identity, and that should he take over Ukraine, that will be one of the first things that is eliminated, is Ukrainian national identity and Ukrainian culture, language, revitalization of history, all of the different initiatives that have been growing around Ukrainian identity politics over the last several years and decades.
Now, Russia's denying responsibility and claiming that the images are fake. What kinds of evidence are needed, pieces of evidence are needed to prove allegations like this?
Mm-hmm. Well, there is excellent evidence being collected by everyday people, by the Ukrainian military, by outside observers, and so everything from photographs to forensic evidence. And also, what's going to be really important if we're going to pursue genocide claims at a relevant court with jurisdiction is going to be plans, right? There has to be an establishment of intent to destroy in whole or in part, and that this is communicated down the chain of command. And that's what makes genocide very difficult to prosecute, is establishing intent. This is not just individual soldiers, but that this is the military, that this is the state against a civilian population primarily, and in this case, against a civilian population of another country.
So that this wasn't just a few bad actors, but rather this came as part of their overall mission. Now, the international, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. The International Criminal Court, they have already opened an investigation into alleged Russian war crimes. So how does that process work, and what do you expect to come from that?
Yeah, that's going to be a very challenging process. Number one, Russia is not a member of the International Criminal Court. Russia did not ratify the Rome Statute. And so Russia is arguing that the court does not have jurisdiction because it is not a member. Now, the court is primarily interested in abuses that happen on particular territories. And Ukraine, while not a member, has accepted the court's jurisdiction going as far back as 2013. So Russia is theoretically on the hook. This puts countries like the United States in an awkward position because the United States has made the exact same argument that U.S. personnel in countries like Afghanistan, which is an ICC member, cannot have accountability. So it's going to be the very first challenge. The second challenge is going to be when indictments come down and for what crimes, and how to get people in The Hague. Prosecutors at the International Criminal Court, you cannot try someone in absentia. So you would need to get people in physical custody. And so when people are talking about having war crimes trials for Vladimir Putin, a big challenge is actually getting Putin into custody. And it's really important to note also that the International Criminal Court to date does not have a good track record when it comes to getting sitting heads of state to accountability, whether that is Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya or his deputy, William Ruto, or Omar al-Bashir of Sudan, known genocidaire and leader in Sudan until recently. And so there are a lot of challenges ahead.
And President Zelensky said to address a UN Security Council meeting today about all of this. What consequences could the UN impose on Russia?
Russia has a permanent veto at the UN Security Council. And so that's the most powerful body at the UN. And so if Russia can veto any resolution, any order, that really shows us, I think, in stark relief how the international system is not designed, let alone well equipped, to hold accountable powerful nations, and in particular, leaders of powerful nations. And so I'm not sure how that process could unroll. There have been suggestions of a Nuremberg or Tokyo-like tribunal, or a tribunal like the Special Court for Sierra Leone, where it would not be necessarily under the auspices of the UN, but perhaps the US and allies coming together to establish an ad hoc tribunal, because again, there are the challenges that I've mentioned at the International Criminal Court. There's also not going to be a tribunal like we saw in Rwanda or the former Yugoslavia, because those were created through the UN with the permission, essentially, of major world powers that held that held a veto and that continue to hold a veto. And so if there's going to be any accountability, it's going to depend on powerful nations staking their claim and executing justice for Putin, his generals, and all the way down the line of command to the soldiers on the ground who are enacting such unspeakable violence.
All right, Kelebogile Zvobgo, we appreciate it as always. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.